Hey, welcome to Level 3 Focus. It's been a while. It has been, in fact, quite a while since the last Level 3 Focus. It's been uh, maybe a month and a half, and I've only done one so far in all of 2014. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more consistent with this thing, as James said before. As James said, if you haven't seen a Monday show before, because I've done one in 4 months or so, this is a show called Level 3 Focus that I do that is more on the higher level side of fighting games. James's show is more for people who are starting out. It's a great thing to get people into it. This is more for the higher level side, for analyzing matches, which is what I'm going to do today, or for bringing up kind of more advanced concepts and digging into them more in depth. Like I said, hopefully I'll get to do that more often in the future. For tonight, I didn't have anything cool planned. It was hard to think of stuff. There have been some awesome matches lately in tournaments. There have been some really good top 8s in a bunch of games over the last few tournaments that we've had. But nothing, not much at least, really jumps out as being, a teachable moment necessarily. There weren't too many of those. So I picked out just a few matches that I thought had some interesting little teachable moments. Matches that had, little moments where players did things that the opponents didn't expect, whether that was their overall game strategy, whether it was a last-minute kind of end-game situation, or whether it was an adaptation in a way that the opponent didn't catch on in time. These all have those little moments in there. They're all going to be Street Fighter 4. I was looking for stuff in Injustice and Cross Tekken, but I just didn't find anything. Even though, those matches were awesome. There have been some great top 8s and top 16s in those games. And I think that I'll do some of those in upcoming delayed hyper commentaries on youtube.com/UltraChenTV, where I'll just narrate through and commentate as if I were seeing them for the first time. Because I really want to make sure we don't miss that. But in any case, the matches that I'm going to be talking about are all Street Fighter 4 in order, I guess. There's not really an order. Wait, what are we starting out with? Oh, yeah. Ryan Hart against PR Balrog from final round. It was grand finals. Happened just recently, a couple weekends ago. This is a match where let's get into this thing over here. I'm just going to let it play. And play. Yeah, this is my first time actually doing the old Xbox controls as we move through this, so expect some weirdness as we do. Now, I wanted to show this because it's a match where major adaptation happens. Ryan Hart is coming from the winner's bracket. PR Balrog is coming from the loser's bracket, and Ryan has looked good for the most part throughout the tournament. There was one match that he almost lost to another Balrog player. It was very close. In fact, he probably should have lost, but the opponent dropped the combo, and he won. Ryan won, and he was able to come all the way back in winner's side. So it was a very impressive job from him. PR Rog, he got to Grand Finals 2, as you can see. He beat Infield, I think, at some point. I don't remember what happened when I was commentating, but I don't recall. But again, I wanted to show this because it's a moment of adaptation. And Ryan Hart is going to start out losing the first couple of games, just as I'll just throw that out there at the start. He has a good beginning, but PR Rog catches on pretty quickly. The way that Ryan's going to start playing this out is very cautiously. Notice him moving away a lot. He's trying to get away a lot. It's going to be almost the round. And that's going to be a major theme of the first couple of games. There are lots of moments where there are neutral situations, and Ryan Hart just doesn't make the first move. He plays patiently. You see, just like at the start right there. Wow, those are crazy reactions. He's going to have a lot of that. See him wake up, he plays patiently, not too much in the way of wake up. Even though he has meter for Dragon Punch FADC, you can see him just sitting down there in the corner. Finally he brings it out, but it was when Eduardo was expecting it. And so this is just a lot of great harassment by Eduardo. He's learning right now that he can pressure Ryan Hart, and that Ryan's not going to do too much about it. That PR Rog can be offensive, that he doesn't have to worry too much about Ryan's defense, which is a bad state of affairs, of course, for Ryan Hart. But for PR Rog, it's great. And that was, I think, the dominant lesson of that first game. You see Ryan on the right there, nodding his head. We'll see if he does anything differently. Oh, excuse me. Playing a little bit more offensively here. And he presses, which he did not do in the previous game. And then, well, fighting for space, but not too much in the way of offense anymore. Not exactly playing as passively as he did in the previous game, but not exactly offensive. He's not taking risks. And so Eduardo, again, has him into the corner. Predictable dragon punches blocked, and now Ryan's in a bad spot. He takes a little bit of a risk, which worked out at first, of course, but after that, no. And so it's a pretty quick 3 rounds so far for PR Rog. He's gotten overall a good read, and I don't want to make the case that Ryan is being entirely passive or that he's, not a good enough player to have always at least have some variation in his play. He's one of the best in the world. He's going to do that, but overall, his gameplay is from the corner. It's patient. It's not making the first move. It's not taking big risks. Whereas for PR Balrog, for Eduardo, he's getting used to that, and as you can see, he's getting used to some of the block timings, some of the action timings that Ryan Hart is bringing out, and he's just keeping a perfect space. You see him play patiently there at PR Rog because he knew that Ryan Hart would back off, and he was absolutely right. Ryan Hart moved himself into the corner. He's now in a terrible spot. He's got to guess right on the chip timing of this. And he didn't, and that was the second game. I always like looking at players in between their games. Well, I think that's like filthy rich texting. That's not what I was talking about. But on the right was Ryan Hart, and he had his head down, and he still has his head down, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. It's a 3 out of 5 set in grand finals. Again, PR Rog is coming from loser, so he's got to win 2 3 out of 5s, and he's well on his way to taking the first. Good timing. You see the understanding now that Eduardo has of some of Ryan Hart's major timings. Man, those snipes are so good with that sweep from so far away. And they've helped convince Ryan to, not be as active as he wants to be. Sagat has major problems with that range, which is unfortunate for him, the exact range that Rog wants to stand at when he's pressuring. Not a good range for Sagat. It doesn't really have buttons that control that spot very well. Would much rather be at a distance or playing offense, but again, you just haven't seen too much of that. Oh, that jump timing was so perfect, and Eduardo now 1 round away from taking the first set. So he's gotten, again, overall, the better read. And it's not the case that Ryan Hart is being monolithic about his gameplay. He is mixing it up sometimes. You see him going in sometimes. But for the most part, he's not. For the most part, his back's to the corner. For the most part, he's not taking big risks. He's still testing Eduardo's reactions. And that's the first wake-up DP that Rog has gotten hit by. He's gotten hit by a couple of other DPs, or second DP that he's gotten hit by on wake-up throughout the first 3 games, which is quite an accomplishment for him. Not a good look for Ryan that it's only been that amount, even though he's been on defense so much. Wow. Okay, there's another risk. So we've seen a couple of risks from Ryan in this round. You see there, he was very patient. He did not want to take any kind of risk at all, and now Stand Fierce takes it. And now we get a great shot of Ryan. So what he's doing right here is something that not a lot of people can do in the moment. He's just removing himself from the gameplay, trying to remove himself from the fact that he's, in front of who knows how many hundreds of people live, and I think there were 45,000 or 50,000 people watching from home, and a lot of people have watched since then, and there are, 6 or 7 people watching live right now on UltraChenTV. Yeah, it's a lot of people to be in front of, but he's removing himself from that situation. And the point is, what did I do wrong? What about that last set did not go in my favor? And like I said, he's a very smart player and he has a very good analytical mind. It's very smart of him to take this time because he's using that mind to, figure out what went wrong. He knows that he didn't take enough risks. He knows that he let Eduardo think that he had the right reads. Well, that is to say, Eduardo did have the right reads. But Ryan Hart was, the one giving him the ability to make those reads in the first place by being predictable, by being patient. So we'll see now what Ryan Hart has figured out, if anything. You saw towards the end of the first set that he was playing maybe a little bit less cautiously until right at the very end he was, just as much with his back to the corner as he was before, not making the first moves. So notice those little situations after turnaround punches. There have been a lot of just grabs from Ryan Hart. Not much in the way of making Rog have to risk anything. A nice little setup. Oh, he misses the combo, which is unfortunate for him. In a bad situation now. But already, there's a crouching jab there and a fireball there. And those were a couple of the ranges that he didn't throw fireballs from. This is a range that he's thrown fireballs from. But up close, not as much before. Wow, that was just a lucky fireball, I've got to think. So his play doesn't look too different. There have been some moments where he's taken a little bit more of a risk, but this mostly looks like the previous games. Okay, look at that start. EX Tiger had a little bit of offense afterward. You see now he's pressing buttons after those block turnaround punches, after those block dash punches in a way that he really hadn't before. He gets out. See, he's neutral jumping now. He didn't do that before. There's that crouching jab. Again, crouching jab. He's being much more active. And it's Sagat, so, he's not going to look like he's doing crazy stuff, but you can tell that he's challenging more. There's a challenge that he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. The crouching jabs he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. The neutral jump he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. He's either remembering or tailoring his play to PR Rog. Maybe he was expecting something different out of how Eduardo would play. Look at that response. And for the first time, he has kind of the So we'll see now what Ryan Hart has figured out, if anything. You saw towards the end of the first set that he was playing maybe a little bit less cautiously until right at the very end he was, just as much with his back to the corner as he was before, not making the first moves. So notice those little situations after turnaround punches. There have been a lot of just grabs from Ryan Hart. Not much in the way of making Rog have to risk anything. A nice little setup. Oh, he misses the combo, which is unfortunate for him. In a bad situation now. But already, there's a crouching jab there and a fireball there. And those were a couple of the ranges that he didn't throw fireballs from. This is a range that he's thrown fireballs from. But up close, not as much before. Wow, that was just a lucky fireball, I've got to think. So his play doesn't look too different. There have been some moments where he's taken a little bit more of a risk, but this mostly looks like the previous games. Okay, look at that start. EX Tiger had a little bit of offense afterward. You see now he's pressing buttons after those block turnaround punches, after those block dash punches in a way that he really hadn't before. He gets out. See, he's neutral jumping now. He didn't do that before. There's that crouching jab. Again, crouching jab. He's being much more active. And it's Sagat, so, he's not going to look like he's doing crazy stuff, but you can tell that he's challenging more. There's a challenge that he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. The crouching jabs he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. The neutral jump he didn't bring out in the previous rounds. He's either remembering or tailoring his play to PR Rog. Maybe he was expecting something different out of how Eduardo would play. Look at that response. And for the first time, he has kind of the advantage in the momentum. Well, Rog's in now, but he's had a lot of good of really good stuff. Again, wake up button. Another button, that crouching jab again. And you see him just pumping, trying to react to something. That's down toward. I mean, Eduardo didn't see it, I guess, or maybe he just didn't believe that Ryan Hart would have the reaction to that, but that's something that Ryan didn't have in the previous set either. So he's made these little adjustments, and it doesn't look huge yet, but he has made adjustments. He's playing more offensively, he's challenging more, he is taking the first step, the first move, a little bit more frequently. And you see this throw he got now? Last time, that turnaround punch, there was a dragon punch afterward. And so Eduardo actually now has to think about what the mix-up is going to be in a way that he didn't in the first set. Nice walk up. Reading those little moments of being quiet. And again, that wake-up button. And the EX Tiger Knee builds him some space, but back into the corner again. You see how much more active he is. Look at that jump. He didn't do that before either. And he builds some space. He's Sagat, he wants to have this zone set up. Again, the crouching jab. He's taking the first move in so many more situations now. And you can see he's up a game. He's up one round in the second game. Only his third wake up dragon punch. But it was right. And look at that. And this is, I think, really starting to throw off Eduardo now. Much more active, crouching strong as he gets up. Standing short in a way that he really didn't get before. And Eduardo does take this round. So it's, again, as with the previous set, it's not the case that one guy has all the momentum and that he's making all the right choices and the other is being lackluster. They're both way too good for that. But look at the overall trends. Look how overall Ryan is being more active, taking control of more situations, winning more situations over time, winning more rounds over time. And now he's got a good situation for himself. And there's the reaction again. Look at that. Even pestering at that range, even in the face of a focus attack, that could have been let rip. And if it had been let rip just a few frames before, he would have been crumpled. So, he is taking more of those risks now, and he's up 2-0 in the final set. And just looking, even visibly, a lot more confident. Yeah, way more risky now. He's, pretty sure at this point that he's gotten the right read. Because this read, this change that he's made of being more active, of taking a little bit more risk, pressing buttons more, that's really paid off. Because he's up 2-0, and even though he's lost a round, he's up 2-0 overall, and that's what matters. So this read that he has, this belief, is absolutely right. And he's willing to go with it until he has to make a counter adjustment. And that's on PR Rog. Look at that. I can't believe he even reacted to that with that dragon punch. That was nuts. Might have just been a guess. And it was right, if it was. Look at that. Again, the turnaround punches. In the first set, he only ever had grab or block after a turnaround punch. In this set, look how much more active he is. Dragon punches, He's dashing around. Meaty dragon punches in a couple of cases. Way more button Z, yeah. Maybe we're getting a little crazy there. But overall, he's doing fine. Yeah, look at that. Dash up, dragon punch, and that's going to seal the deal. That seals the deal for Ryan Hart. I really love watching. Is this rewind? This is rewind?
Oh, no, the triggers.
The trigger is? Yeah. All right. Oh, my God.
Oh, you went time 64. Hit start.
No, it's cool.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to go back a ways. Let's go. Yeah, let's keep going back. Wait, get off. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get some speed.
Spazzing Sagat on the floor.
Nope, even longer. Oh my God, no. No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
It's all good. It's all good. Nothing's wrong. Yeah, this is the moment. Well, actually, it was a little bit before that. But the point is that he took all of that time.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Let's start again.
Start. Here it is. Well, he's on the right, but he took all this time to think about what went wrong, and he self-analyzed. Justin is over there trying to coach Eduardo. So Eduardo has a coach, but Ryan is by himself. And he had to think in his mind about all the things that had just happened. Even just that is not an easy feat. This is something that a lot of players can't do. A lot of players, when they're playing in the moment, they're just doing what they're doing, and they're not cataloging it in their brain. Maybe they're coming to understand some timings and coming to understand some of what their opponent is capable of, but they're not really cataloging what's going on. All right, enough of this business. Let's switch back to the old camera. They're not really paying attention in a way that will let them think about it just a couple of minutes later, let alone later that night or the next day or after the video comes out, which is something that some players depend on. The very best players are the ones who have that mental presence at all times to absolutely pay attention to analyze themselves immediately, not to have to wait, not to have to ask somebody, and that's no coincidence that the top players are the ones who can do that, because these games, fighting games and all strategy games, require that very quick, that very fast, critical thinking in a way that a lot of people don't have or haven't taken the time to build. Ryan Hart had it there, and he thought for those 30 seconds, that period of time, what went wrong? What can I do? And I talked with him about this later, and he said that as he was sitting there, he was thinking, I didn't really take the first action in almost any part of that set. I waited for Eduardo to do something, and I tried to react, but I wasn't the first mover. I wasn't the one who was making Eduardo think about what to do. I was playing too patiently. I didn't challenge enough. And so he thought, well, if that didn't work out, I'm just going to try the opposite. You could see him try it a little bit in the first game. It worked out. He tried it a little bit more in the second game. It worked out a little bit better. And by the third game, he's doing these things like Dragon Punch FADC Dragon Punch without the ability to make it safe. He's doing Wake Up Dragon Punch more. He did Meaty Dragon Punch. He had so much more risk. He had that reaction against Eduardo's focus where he pressed jab a couple of times. It was a very risky thing to do. He also tried to do his own full level 3 focus. Very risky thing to do. But that was his read. That was his change. And it's all because he had the ability to be self-critical in the moment, to take the time, and really to switch it up against PR Rog. PR Rog, on his part, I talked with him about it afterward, and he said he just didn't adapt fast enough. He realized by the third game what change Ryan Hart had made, he realized what that downtime had allowed Ryan to do. And he just didn't respond to it fast enough. It's something he can do, of course. He's done it many times. But in this time, he didn't have it. Ryan Hart had it instead. So I thought that was a cool match. That was awesome. Good job to Ryan Hart for winning with Sagat. It's not an easy thing to do. Sagat's kind of character that's like a Rufus kind of thing. He's better than Rufus, but you know how like the only good Rufus players are like the really good Rufus players? There's like 5 other total Rufus players in the world. It's the same thing with Sagat. There's like Bonchan and Ryan Hart and Sanford and I don't know, like 3 or 4 other people like anywhere. There's like Leslie in Singapore. Like, I mean, the Sagat players who I know are the really good Sagat players. That I don't know any scrub Sagats. So he makes that character, and those other people make that character look better than I think he is. But anyway, that was cool. That was cool. So I'm gonna take a break. When I come back, I'm gonna, I guess, talk about Snake Eyez. It looks like that seems to be next on the old docket. See you in a bit.